How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Kevin, and basically on this channel we just break down different editing effects and editing techniques. So in today's video we're going to break down this effect right here. I actually seen this on Instagram from a page called Pixray. I'm going to leave all that in the description below. Basically, there's a load of different project files and stuff that you can also purchase over on his website, and they're all amazing. So I'm basically just going to break down that project right now. So yeah, enough talking. Let's just jump right into it and get going. Right, so inside the After Effects, we're going to just make a new composition. We can just call this 00, and we're just going to make it a 4:5 composition here. Perfect. What we're going to do now is just going to right click and we're going to add in a new text layer, and I'm just going to say something like rotate, all in capitals. I'm going to just Control Alt Home, and that's just going to center the anchor point here, and I'm just going to scale this up like so. I'm also going to just adjust this a bit like that just to make it a bit taller, and yeah, that's looking good. So next thing we're going to do is just going to crop this composition to roughly the same height as this text. So to do that, we're just going to come over here to the region of interest, and you can just roughly just take the size of the text there, something like that. Come up to composition and then just do crop comp to region of interest like so. Perfect. So we're going to make this now into shape layers, and to do that we're just going to right click, create, and create shapes from text. We can just delete that bottom layer here. The issue here is that we have all of our layers inside of one shape layer. I'm just going to use this plugin, Motion Tools. It'll be in the description, and it's also fully free. And it just has this button here where you can basically get all those different letters on their own individual layer. So I'm just going to click that, and as you can see, that's done exactly that. Select all these and then make them 3D layers. And I'm just going to press OR. I'm just going to rotate these a bit just so I can see the size of them. I'm just going to come up to this search bar. I can just press Control A for you. Come up to this search bar, and then I'm going to press, I'm going to type in extrude. And as you can see, extrusion depth is here, and we're just going to increase this, something like that. One thing just to note before you start doing this, you're going to need to have your 3D solver on Cinema 4D and not classic or advanced. So now that we have that, we can just come up to this OR, and we're gonna give the side of this a color here. So we want the color to be black. So to do that, we're just gonna click the drop down, contents, click the OR, and then add side color. And let's just make it a black color like so. So from here, we can just select that and we can just copy that, and we're just gonna paste that across the board like this. Now we can see the depth on all of these, and we just press Control A, U, and then press OR, and we're just going to bring this back all to 0. So as you can see the back of these now, and we don't want that. So we're just going to add in a camera, and we're just going to make it these settings here, just a 2-node camera, and basically that will just fix the issue of seeing the depth. Now we're just going to add in some animation to this. So I'm just going to drag my timeline to 2 seconds, and going to select all of them, press OR, and we're going to just make a keyframe on the Y, and then I'm just going to press U and U again just so I can see that a bit clearer. And at around 2 seconds, they're going to all rotate once. 360. Sorry, they're going to rotate 360 once. So as you can see, they're just rotating simply like that. So we're just going to ease these, and I'm going to use this flow plugin. This is actually paid, but it's probably my most used plugin and couldn't recommend it more. Don't worry if you don't want to purchase it. I'm gonna just show you how the actual values are looking. So something really simple like that, and I'll just load this up so you can see what's actually going on. So now you can see that they just rotate a bit like that. Perfect. Last thing we're going to do is just add in a bit of a formula here, and it's super simple. So basically it's going to be loop in, and it's going to be plus loop out, and then we're just going to minus the value and then just add in that. Perfect. That's going to loop now seamlessly throughout. And we can just right click this, copy expression, and paste this across the board. Perfect. Right, so once you have that formula in, we can just right click this copy expression, and I'm just gonna paste this onto all these other layers like so. Select all of our keyframes, and I'm just gonna stagger these a bit just to make the animation feel a bit more natural. And let's see how that's looking. Right, so that's looping perfectly like that. And now we're just going to come up to our comps here. I'm just going to drag this into our pre-comp, and I'm just going to copy and paste this again. Let's just call this 0, 1, and let's just double click it and open it up. We can just delete everything in here, and we're just going to drag that first comp that we made in, and it's just going to be the exact same. Perfect. Right, so now we're going to just use some time displacement just to add that kind of twist and effect to it. And in order to do that, we're going to use a gradient ramp. To do that, we're just going to do a new solid layer, doesn't matter what color, and we can just come in here, pre-compose, and let's just call this gradient, and let's make that. Come in here, and on this, we're just going to add in a gradient ramp, and we're going to just change these colors, reverse them. So it's going to be a white and then a black. And we're going to start the white up here and then the black down here. Basically how gradient ramps work is anywhere that is black is going to play earlier in time, and anywhere that is white is going to play later in time, and then gray is just playing the actual time. That's why we're doing this kind of diagonal gradient, because it's going to just basically twist all of our text, and you'll see that now. So once we've done that, we're going to add in a tritone, and we're going to just go black and then white in the middle. And then just to even all this out, we can just add in a blur. So just come down and get a Gaussian blur, and I'm just going to put this up to 100. Perfect. So now back into this other comp, we can just exit out of that. We have our gradient and our first layer, and we can just hide this gradient now, and now you'll start seeing the magic happening. So we're just going to add in a time displacement onto this bottom layer, and we're going to use the gradient and the effects and masks. So let that load. Now this is fairly intensive on your computer, so I would say start with your time resolution lower, and then we can always change that in the future. So for your max time displacement, we're going to just change this to something like 0.2. As you can see what's going on here, I'm just going to increase this to maybe like 150. And that's going to get rid of those jagged edges, and you'll kind of have a better idea of what's actually going on. So I'm just going to load this up, and we can see how the animation is looking. Right, so that is how it's looking, and it's already looking pretty nice, and it's super simple to get to this point. Right, so now let's just make a new composition, and we're going to make this a 4/5, same sentence, and we can just call this 0, 2. Let's just press OK. We're just going to come back and drag in that comp that we just made, right? We can just adjust this timeline to 2 seconds. And that's working perfectly. And now we're just going to duplicate this twice. Put one underneath. And we're going to put one over the top. Like so. So that's all working like that. And now we're just going to skew this a bit. So to do that, we're just going to add a new adjustment layer. And we can call this skew. And let's just add in a transform effect on that. So at 0 seconds, let's just set a skew keyframe here. Press U just so we can see what's going on. And let's just put this to like -20. And then here at 1 second, we're gonna put this to 20. And then we can just copy this first keyframe and then paste it at the end. So now it's doing something like this. Right, so it's a bit jarring at the moment. We're just going to ease these, and then inside of our graph editor, we can just make this a bit smoother like this. Great. So now that's running. Let that just cache. Now you can see what effect we're getting there, and that's looking really good. Right, so now we're on to just styling this and kind of adding some textures and stuff just to really bring this to life. So last but not least, we're gonna make our main comp. And we can just press OK, come in here, and let's just drag this into our main so we can get to it easily. And let's just drag in that 0, 2 in here. Adjust our timeline to like 2 seconds, and yeah, now you can see what's going on. Right, so now we're just going to add in a new solid and just make it black, bring it to the bottom, and we can just add in a fill on this just so if we ever wanted to change the color, it's going to be super easy. So for now, let's just do like a light blue or something like that. Grand. We'll come back to that now in a sec. So on this main composition that we've made, we're just going to add in a tint. And this basically will allow you to color the sides here. So I'm going to just do something like this, the orange kind of color. And as you can see, that's just changed all that, and we can leave the map to white. Now let's add in some texture on this. So in order to do that, we're going to add in a displacement map, and all these texture maps that I'm using will be in the description below. So to do that, I'm just going to use this one here, this dust map, and you can experiment with this. It's going to look good whatever you use, but yeah, you can just have a play with it and see which type of look you like the most. So we can call this displacement, and we can just hide that. So on this main composition, our O2 comp, we're going to just add in a displacement map, and we're just going to map it to that displace. And as you can see, we're getting that nice gritty kind of feel. And you can just play around with these settings. I'm going to do something like 7 and 7. And yeah, that's looking really good. And like that, let's just load this out. Right, that's already looking really good. So now we can just texture the background a bit. So I'm just going to add in this other map here, our halftone grunge, and we can bring that underneath that. And we can add in a gradient ramp to this. And I want it to be black and then into maybe like a light blue or a darker blue. Or even like a red or something. Yeah, that looks good. And now let's add some texture to these white parts in our text. So we can just come back in and add in this paper texture. We can just put that to multiply. And we can add in levels if we wanted to just change how bright this effect's coming through. Right, that's looking really good. And I'm just going to add in now another adjustment layer. I'm going to call this posterize. And on this, I'm just going to add in a posterize time. Bring that to like 12 frames. And then, right, that's looking really nice. And yeah, you can just keep stacking different layers, texturing this. You have this other texture here where we can invert this and maybe use a multiply again. And then also you can just add in a level so you can adjust that a bit. Right, so now we're getting a really nice look and feel to this. So last thing, if you wanted to kind of just play around with this, we can come back into this here. And all I'm going to do is just duplicate these. I'm actually going to split them here. So select all the layers, Control Shift D, you can delete those, and that's just going to keep playing like that. And we can just duplicate these, bring them up to the top, and let's just move these over to the side, something like that. We can just hide our skew for the moment, and then select all of our layers. I'm just going to add in a null here, and I can just press position, and then around here I'm going to set a keyframe, and then here I'm just going to try match exactly the position on these, and then let's just ease this. So something like this. And then if we enable our skew, we can see what's going on here. And now we're getting that nice effect like that. So then back in our main comp, this is how everything is looking. Just one thing you don't forget before you render this out, you want to come back into your time displacement in this layer here. And you can just bump this up to something like 220 or 200, and that's just going to remove those jagged edges on your text. Right, so that was the tutorial for today. As I said again, make sure you go check out Pixrate's stuff. Some of the compositions and project files that he has on his page are amazing. But yeah, that's really it. Hope you learned something new today, and yeah, cheers.